What's up, everybody? Heck Halley with the Tomato Boxing Show. None other than Solomon Okoronkwo, and he's one of the up-and-coming talents out of Tucson, Arizona, or based out of Tucson, Arizona now. And so here I am on a Saturday. We're maybe hours away from the Canelo fight taking place, and you took time out of your day to meet with me. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me over.
Pleasure is mine. I appreciate you, being interested enough to interview me.
Solomon, dude, the pleasure's all mine. Believe me. Solomon, we're in the comfort of your home. You're going to watch the fight, I imagine?
Of course.
How do you see the Canelo Skull fight?
Oh, Canelo, easy money.
Is it because he's a popular fighter or?
No, definitely. I mean, I've seen some clips of William Skull, and honestly, I don't think he has enough firepower to handle Canelo, but right now, one of my current favorite fighters is definitely Canelo. So
that Cuban style always makes me nervous.
True. I mean, you saw Lara Canelo too, so it could be an interesting fight, but I think Canelo will pull it out.
The height seems to, a lot of people are making a big issue about the height, depending on what Canelo we see, right? Where everybody's looking for Canelo to pull off a knockout, which it hasn't happened since the Saunders fight. So if it happens tonight, we might discard the Crawford fight in September and maybe bring on the Benavidez talks again.
I like that.
It's a taller fighter, right?
Yeah, true. I'm down to see either Canelo Benavidez, Canelo Crawford. I hope he fights Crawford next after this, being that he pulls out this win. But I mean, he's fought taller fighters most of his career, so I don't think it'd be an issue tonight.
What about the co-main event? Because that's another big one. Munguia getting the shock upset.
Yeah.
Knockout
rematch
to Saras, and now the rematch is happening.
Yeah, I'm interested. I mean, that could go either way. That's going to be in the back of his mind, throughout the entire fight. But I think Munguia will come back this time, pull it out.
Man, that's going to be so interesting. And so we'll try to keep this short. That way you get to enjoy your day. And now that we talked about those, let's touch briefly on last night's fights, because there was also
another
a big
upset
card that maybe delivered. I don't know. You tell me. Some people are upset about the way that everything played out. Teo, to me, ended up stealing the show.
Sure.
Put on the best performance. But you saw Ryan Garcia get upset, and Haney kind of put on the sleeper, right?
Yeah, that's
one of those fights that you fall asleep, you take a nap, wake up, it's still going on. And then you fall asleep again, and now the decision's being rendered. You're like, dang, this thing doesn't end.
Yeah.
How did you see it?
I mean, I think it was a good night of boxing, me personally. I mean, Teo, like you said, definitely stole the show. Like, his performance, by far, amazing. I think the Devin fight, obviously people were giving him a lot of flack for his performance, but most important thing is he pulled out the win, and he did his part to get the rematch with Ryan, but Ryan is kind of the one who dropped the ball. Was really impressed too with Rolly. You see the improvements that he made from the Pitbull fight, the Tank fight, to what he did yesterday with Ryan. I mean, I think he was boxing like really smart, which I don't think a lot of people were expecting to see, myself included. But he fought a good fight.
People thinking that Ryan took the dive.
Nah, I mean,
I didn't think so.
Yeah, I don't think. I feel like people at boxing at that level, you have to think everything that goes into training for a camp. The preparation, I mean, they're having press conferences multiple times before the fight. Like, no one is going to go through all of that, the discipline, the sacrifice to take a fight, to take a dive. At least, I don't think that's what happened at all.
Very interesting dynamic from the main event and the co-main event, right?
For sure.
Fight, because the last time that those two guys were active, were against one another.
Yep.
Is ring rust real?
Oh, yeah.
Both of them got affected, except Haney does whatever he needs to pull out the victory against an older fighter. I think the disappointment is that he could have gotten Jose Ramirez out of there.
For sure.
And he didn't, but he cruised to a victory. Ryan Garcia suffering possibly the same thing as a ring rust, right?
Yeah.
The lack of activity, but he ended up suffering, getting dropped in the second round and just not falling into his game plan.
Yeah, no, definitely, ring rust is definitely a real thing. I think, it makes a big difference. If you're fighting every 3 months versus, you go 6-7 months without a fight, it's going to take you longer to kind of feel 100% once you get in the ring. But I don't think, not to take anything from Rolly's performance, I don't think ring rust was the reason Ryan lost. I think Rolly just had a better game plan. You saw after he knocked him down the second round, I think that affected Ryan, the rest of the way. But I think it was just a good performance from Rolly.
And then the Teo fight. Is this basically as clear of a sign that there is levels in boxing?
Oh, for sure.
Barbosa, a lot of people thought because he got the interim title that he was going to belong with the elite, but Teo kind of separated that.
For sure.
Separated himself.
Yeah, I think Barbosa's still, an elite, if not right under an elite fighter. But like you said, Teo just showed that there's levels. He looked too good.
He looked really good.
Yeah.
So we get those fights out of the way. Then Sunday comes. Tomorrow, Naoya Inoue.
Yes.
Cardenas. A lot of people are discarding Cardenas.
Yeah.
And because a lot of people don't know him, and that's the reason I was pointing out the William Skull, right? It's
Yep.
because of popularity of Canelo that we're just going with the obvious pick. Cardenas ended up jumping from camps from Houston over to the Diaz camp and goes to Coachella. You got Israel Madrimov. You got Beck the Bully that trained
That's a
there.
good
The
jump.
Flores
Yeah.
twins, the Sanchez twins. They're doing, or the Sanchez brothers. You got it's just killer crowd right there. It's killer row at that gym at the Diaz camp, and a lot of people are discarding Cardenas because they don't know him.
Yeah.
Do we expect a Naoya run through? Like
I mean, similar to what I just said about Teo, Inoue is one of those people that like it's just different, it's levels, but at the same time, it's like that's why we don't just give wins and losses off projected wins. Like they have to fight, and in this sport, the one thing that I've learned is that everyone is human. All it takes is one punch. So you can never discount anyone. But like most of the fights yesterday, the fight today, I'm looking forward to seeing Inoue in action. But I think he'll pull it out.
I think it's going to be exciting. All right, let's dive into you a little bit. Born in Lagos, Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
At what age did you move stateside?
Came here when my mom immigrated to the U.S. when I was around 5. We moved to New Jersey.
No accent.
Yeah, it's still there. I feel like it comes out. It comes out every once in a while. I mean, you talk to my mom; she has a full accent. But I mean, my culture, where I'm from, is like a big, if not one of the biggest things about me. When I'm going into the ring, like I try to. But no, like Nigeria, that's home, just like the U.S. is for sure.
And then you grew up Illinois.
Yeah, I grew up in Illinois, south suburbs of Chicago, Joliet, Illinois. Spent basically most of my adolescent life in there, and then went to college in Southern Illinois, which is where I started boxing.
And how old were you when you started? In college you started boxing?
Yeah, I started in college towards the end of college for me. Not a little bit over 10 years ago was like the first time that I actually put on the gloves, had my first amateur fight. So I've gotten into the sport late, but trying to make up time.
And now we're in the beautiful weather of Tucson, which is
sir.
always hot, right? It's hot 9 months out of the 12 months out here.
True.
So what brought you to Tucson? Because you go from one extreme level of weather to the other extreme.
No, part of the weather was a big reason why we're here. So my wife and I, we were actually living in Chicago 5 years before we moved to Tucson. And I mean, Chicago winters is ridiculous. So that was a big reason we moved. So we took a 3-month road trip and we went to New Orleans. We were planning on going to Phoenix, and then it was the middle of the night and we didn't want to drive like 2 hours longer to go to Phoenix. So we actually just stopped here by accident, got in a hotel. It was super dark. We woke up the next morning seeing like palm trees, mountains all over the place, butterflies flying, and then we're like, all right, shit, like this place is cool. So this place was always in the back of our mind, and something that we kept coming back to, and then and ended up a little bit over 3 years ago, found a house we liked, made an offer, and they accepted it, and we just kind of packed our stuff and moved here.
And you fought basically from your college when you started your boxing career. You fought Iowa, Nebraska, in Illinois, South Dakota, Indiana, I think is where you started your career. Now you went to Columbia in your last fight. How is that panning out for you, that you're moving all over the place, and mostly East Coast, except with now you're an international fighter?
For sure. I mean, it's a good feeling. It's crazy how things work out. I'm a big believer everything happens for a reason. But yeah, it's just panned out that way. I'm very big on, just taking it one fight at a time, making the most of the opportunity in front of me. But like you said, it's just panned out that, I fought all over the country, internationally last week. So, I mean, it's really a blessing to be able to do all of that at this stage of my career.
When can we expect Solomon to fight in Tucson, right?
Yeah,
here in Arizona?
That's the goal. God willing, towards the end of this year or early next year, I'm definitely trying to, put on a show closer to home.
Is there a big wave of 154-pound fighters out here? You campaign at Super-Welterweight, right?
Correct.
Is there like a good number of fighters out here? Is it a reason that there's a lack of fighters that you continue to go East Coast, or is it just promotional wise?
So it's mainly promotional wise. I just kind of fight where the shows are with my promotion company, 15th Round, and they've been great. But yeah, I mean, around this area, my gym is T-Town Boxing, downtown Tucson. We get a lot of good sparring there. There's a lot of really good guys in that gym, some pros, amateurs as well. So, I mean, we always get a lot of work, and we're able to go out to different gyms in the area, too.
There's a popular 154-pound fighter that's maybe about 40 minutes
Ramos.
of us here or west of us.
Yeah.
This is Ramos, Mono Ramos. Have you been able to meet him?
For sure. Yeah, I've been able to go to that gym once, got some sparring with him. I think when I was training for my second or third fight. And I mean, Ramos is a beast. And like we were talking about earlier, like he proved to me my first time in there with him, it was like there's levels to this, and it was only more motivation for me to work hard. But it's only a matter of time before he's a world champion.
How deep in your career were you when you got a chance to?
I think it was training for my third fight.
Okay.
So yeah, a couple years ago.
So cool. And
yeah.
So I got to talk to him maybe about a month ago or so, and he was saying that they're back into negotiations with Charlo.
Oh, let's go.
He's still trying to get that one. That would be a huge fight.
Oh yeah.
And obviously, in my opinion, I think he's in line. He's done enough to
100%.
Title shot, but somehow he keeps getting skipped there.
True. I know. I definitely think he should be next up for a world title. I think he should still have his O. To be honest with him, that fight with Lubin, I think, was a great fight, but I think he pulled it out. Unfortunately, he didn't get the win. But no, I definitely think he beats either Charlo. But like I said, it's only a matter of time for he's a world champion.
We heard Sebastian Fundora, and we're going to focus on your division. Sebastian Fundora vacates the WBO title and trying to go after that rematch with Tim Tszyu, that was a firefight between the two, right? A bloodfest. And so now we got a vacant title. Xander Sayas is going to be one of the fighters for that title. And then we got, who else is the champ at that division? I think they're all interims, right?
Yeah, all interims. I thought, honestly, speaking of Fedora vacating, I was really interested to see him versus Zayas, because I think that'll be a good fight, a true 50-50 fight, because anyone who fights Fedora is just, I don't know. Like, he's so awkward. 6'6" at that weight class is ridiculous.
I was really thinking that Jesus Ramos was going to get the shot since he was his co-main event for 2 events in a row, I believe, until he's basically lining himself up. Yeah. But it's a bunch of killers in your division. How are you seeing it? Because you got Sergey Boachuk. We mentioned Israel Madrimov, Virgil Ortiz, Ramos, Jermell Charlo coming back, Fundora, Tim Tszyu. I mean, Xander Sayas. And then you got a young cat out there, Dana White's pick.
Callum Walsh.
He's fighting out of LA with Freddie Roach.
For sure.
I mean, that division is stacked.
For sure. I mean, it's a great decision to be in. No, I like where I'm at right now, and like I've said this before, my goal is to be a world champion. I know I still have a lot of work to do, but my goal is, with all the guys that you just mentioned, eventually get to a spot where I'm able to get one of those fights and kind of show what I know in my heart is true to the rest of the world.
You started your career at middleweight.
Yes, sir.
Most of those fights were around
160
and catchweights, right? A little bit higher. And then the last 3-4 fights, you've already set your eyesight on the 154 division. What made that change?
Yeah.
Was it too much weight for you, or was it different power that you're feeling? Is your power better at 154? Why did you narrow down into the 154?
Yeah, I feel like my power is definitely better at 154. I typically, honestly, like, I'll walk around 175, 180 at the lowest. I think eventually I could probably make even 147. But like 154 just feels comfortable cutting weight wise. I still feel like my power's there, so it just really made the most sense, career wise.
I like prepping by watching as much film as I can prior to just going blindly into an interview.
For sure.
All the videos that I saw of you, you have this thing similar to Ike Corte with your right hand. You hide your right hand, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. I saw it over and over, except Ike Corte used to hide it up high, right by his jawline. You like to hide it down low, and then you release that hammer, and it seems to be the knockout punch. That's your go-to right now, and it seems to be delivering for you. For sure.
No, I appreciate that. My right hand, even since as an amateur, I was knocking people down, knocking people out with the right hand. I think, it's one of those things that's just God-given, because I train a lot with my left hand. I really feel like my left hand is stronger than my right hand. It's just that when I get in fights, it's always, the majority of the time, it's always the right hand that ends up doing the job.
You had your last fight in Colombia last week?
Yes, sir.
How did that go?
First round knockout. Felt good. It was even though it was ended in the first round, one of my toughest fights thus far. Like, people in Colombia, known for being tough. My opponent was no different, but it was a good experience for sure.
It was longer to do the whole travel and
Yeah,
all the
that
move
was
and everything, and then you get in there, clean up house real quick.
yeah, and then it's back home.
Wait again to
Yeah,
like
I couldn't sit through an entire plane ride going back home with the loss, God forbid. So only
that
one.
would be a long flight.
Yeah, exactly. So only one option.
9-0, 6 knockouts.
Yes, sir.
How many fights this year? Can we
At minimum 2 more.
Okay.
At minimum 2 more. Ideally 3. And then, hopefully towards the end of this year, early next year, we'll get a big opportunity coming up. But like I said, goal is just to continue taking it one fight at a time. I feel like every time that I'm in the ring, I get better, do better than the previous fight. So, my goal is just to keep improving every time I step in there.
You're with the smaller promotion, like you mentioned, 15th round promotions. Any pacts that they're doing, like any promotional pact with Top Rank or anybody else that they're starting to visit?
For sure.
Being that you got a decent record right now, a really good record that you're putting together, and if you're in line for any type of bigger fight next year, I would imagine that there has to be talks with a bigger promotional company to try to get you into those next.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, those the guys at 15th round, Angelo, George, great guys, and they know like the business of boxing. So they definitely have all those connects. Are in contact with the right people to get me to where I need to go for sure.
Where do you see it heavier, PBC, Top Rank, as far as competition, and more maybe like how can I say, like more elusive for you, or maybe more tempting for you to try to test yourself?
Yeah.
Would it be going the PBC route and maybe a co-promotional pack that way, Top Rank, Golden Boy, Matchroom? Who do you see has the toughest competition?
That's a good question. I think like all those companies have great fighters. Honestly, like I said, my goal is just to focus on me, make sure that I'm putting myself in a position so when either one of those opportunities comes up, I'm ready. Like, to be honest with you, my mentality is it doesn't matter who, but I want to make sure when that opportunity comes that I'm ready.
You're a little bit like I would put you kind of in the category of Deontay Wilder, because not fighting style, age-wise, because
for
you
sure.
started a little bit later in life, right? Most fighters, you talk to them and they always give you the story of, I was fighting at 5,
yeah.
I started fighting at 9. You started in your college years, very similar to Deontay Wilder. He was already in his young adult, and made a career out of it. Does that add pressure to you that you're a little bit on the older side, where you're seeing these fighters in their young 20s, and you're how old right now? 30?
Yeah, I'm 31.
You're 31, so does that add more urgency, like more pressure that you want to get more fights in, or are you taking it more calculated?
No, 100%. Like, I'd be lying to you if I said, my age didn't play a factor in the way my career is going. Like I said, the first time I touched the boxing gloves was a little bit over 10 years ago, started in the sport late, and now I'm 31, so I'm trying to make the most of every single opportunity that I get, because I know, the timeline in being in this sport, if you want to leave, with your faculties intact and still be healthy afterwards, is not that long. So like I said, that's why I put extra pressure on myself to make the most of my opportunity every time I step in there. But Deontay Wilder is definitely somebody that I look up to, being that he started late too, still became a world champion in the heavyweight division too, in so many big fights. So God willing, I could follow in those footsteps and get myself to the level that he's been able to.
You have the power in that right hand
for sure
to be able to carry you far. You fight with a certain level of urgency because of time, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, the positive is that most fighters will admit that they hit their prime between 27 and 33 years of age.
Facts.
You're right there, and you're peaking right now at that moment. So in the next 2 years, we should see an explosion of Solomon taking your career from where you're at to the next level.
Most definitely.
Everything continues in that.
Most definitely. From your mouth to God's ears. That's what I'm working towards. And at the same time too, like I said, my age makes me operate with more urgency, but at the same time, I feel like where I'm at right now, like I'm in better shape than I was even 5-7 years ago. And that's because of like the urgency that I take in my preparation. Like I don't cut corners, everything like that. So, I take my career very seriously, and being at the age that I'm at, I feel like it almost gives me a leg up because I've matured, maybe compared to some of the younger fighters. So, I understand what comes with this game and what it takes to be successful in it.
You took the words from me because I was going to say the maturity is something that you have as an advantage over the younger fighters. You have a different level of understanding right now,
for sure,
of the stage in life where you're at versus the young fighters that a lot of them get caught up. And we heard it yesterday with Bob Arum. He gave a post-fight interview, and he's like, these fighters are just stuck about the money. No one wants to fight with the legacy, and these eras keep happening, right?
Yep.
You went the Mayweather era. We experienced that, and that was the low risk, high reward.
Yep.
A lot of fighters lost their careers waiting, sitting around for those perfect opportunities, and then they never came.
Yep.
And meanwhile, they got older and older and older. And right now, we're in an era where everybody wants to unify, everybody wants to fight each other.
Yeah.
It's exciting, but a lot of people want that big money versus the legacy, personal accomplishments, money.
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, definitely a combination of everything. Like I said earlier, I'm a big believer that every single thing happens for a reason. So my mindset, my mentality is like, if I continue to focus on what's within my control, which means my work ethic, my training, every time I step in the ring, I'm performing to the best of my abilities. Like, I have no doubt all those things that you just mentioned are going to come. But like you said, I don't want to fall under the trap of where, I'm just chasing money or I'm just chasing these big fights and it's forcing me to get out of character. It's like, no, I know what I need to do. I need to first control what I can, execute on those things. And like I said, all those other opportunities are going to come. It's only a matter of time.
Perfect. And then right now at 154, this is where you set your flag right now at 154, and you're gonna stay in this division, right?
For sure.
For the foreseeable future,
yep,
or until you reach the level that you want to reach?
Right now, for the foreseeable future. I think again, we'll see what opportunities lies ahead. But I genuinely feel like with maybe a little bit different habits in training, different things that I can tweak, I could make 147. That's an option too. But I'd say between 147 and 154 is where I'm going to be at, for the foreseeable future. For sure.
Easy to drop down to 147 for you?
I haven't tried, to be honest with you. I haven't tried. But like with how easily I'm able to get to 154 now, like I said, I think 147 may be another option that we consider, depending on how the rest of 154 goes.
We allude back to right back around to the maturity, right? The fact that you're able to analyze this, where a lot of people don't consider that.
Yeah.
And if they were to offer you just some random fight and throw you in for the money at middleweight,
yeah,
would you be able to discern and be like, no, that's not right for my career right
yep,
now, I'll step back? Not everybody's able to say that. But you're very aware of where you're at right now, which obviously pays dividends to your age and your maturity.
Most definitely. No, I appreciate that. And, that also goes out to, I have a great team of people around me. I think it's very rare that you're able to get to the highest level without a great team of people around you. And I feel like right now, I have that and I'm continuing to build that. So, it's just trusting the people around me, trusting myself, and like I said, focusing on executing on what's within my control.
When you get introduced right now, do you get introduced as fighting out of Nigeria,
yeah,
Illinois, or are you representing Tucson?
That's a great question. So Nigeria, definitely. And then honestly, it's interchanged because, I still represent Joliet, Illinois, which is where I grew up, around the Chicago area. But at the same time, like Tucson, every day that we're here, starting to feel more like home. So kind of interchanges between Joliet and Tucson. But, the Nigeria is always there for sure.
That's cool. What would it feel like for you to reach the level of challenging for a title and being able to fight out in Nigeria, going back to the motherland and fighting out there?
That would be like, I can't even put that into words. That's a good question.
Cross your mind? What if I end up going back and now you got Francis Ngannou in the crowd and Izzy and
God willing, hopefully, that's like I said. Every time that I fight, like I go in with my country on my back. I feel like, and God willing, I'm able to make it to that position. And I think, with the way that I'm going right now, I definitely can. That would be one of, if not the biggest blessing. But that's definitely what I'm working towards. I think we can make it happen.
One of the fighters that I got to interview here recently, another Tucson-based fighter, we were talking off mic about him, Junior Camberos.
For sure.
I asked him this question. I'm going to ask you the same exact question and see how you take it. He lit up when I asked him this, because it's about visualization, right? Mm-hmm. Just like we talked about Nigeria. I asked him, which one of these champions do you think is going to be stepping across the ring when you get to challenge for that title? And he
Yeah.
lit up, and to him, he said, more than likely, Keyshawn will probably be the
Be
one
there.
that's still standing there. I'll ask you the same question. Out of the current champions or the
People.
current pool of fighters at 154, who do you think will be across that ring from you when you get to that title shot?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, at 154, I think there's a lot of names I could throw there. Ramos is one of them. I think he's going to be, a champion for a long time. Xander Zayas, I think it's only a matter of time before he gets his hands on the belt. And maybe Fedora if they fight, but I think either one of those names, will still be there when I'm at the top.
Boachuk, Madrimov?
Yeah, great fighters too. I forgot about them. But yeah, I think, the first three that I named, though, I would put them slightly over Madrimov for sure. And great fighter, though.
Great fighters, and who knows if they're going to be moving up or so, because they're big people. I've stood next to them. They're tall and they're big bodies.
For sure.
And sometimes you're amazed, how are they cutting down to this weight? So that's something else that goes to what you were mentioning about settling at your weight and controlling your weight, right? You haven't tried to make 147, but if you were to drop down to 147, would you be able to sustain a long career there at 147, or do you think 154 is just perfect for you right now?
I think right now 154 feels perfect. I would definitely love to test it out in the future, see how I feel at 147. But right now, I think I have a really good handle, when it comes to my camp and making the 154 weight limit. So, yeah, I like where I'm at right now for sure.
Based on, and I was mentioning this to you off mic, so you could give the spoiler right now. For the people that start looking you up after this interview and they go to BoxRec, you're supposed to be fighting today in Colombia, but the fight actually happened last Saturday. Saturday. So you gave us a spoiler, 9-0. That was a first-round knockout. Your next fight is when?
My next fight will be in July. It'll be in Nebraska, I believe, with 15th round. Really looking forward to that. We should be able to announce my next opponent pretty soon. It'll be another, veteran tough fight similar to this one in Colombia. But, I know one thing, same thing, like I said, I'm going to be ready for sure.
Are you getting a list of potential opponents at the moment, or does your team get it and then they just tell you, hey, this is who you're fighting? Or do you have a say-so based on how you're guiding your career, that you have a say-so as to, I want to go here, this would be a perfect step, and continue to progress? Or is it just getting fights under your belt?
Yeah, it's really just kind of seeing where I'm at in the rankings and who and then my team comes with a couple different options, and then we just kind of come to a decision together.
That's cool. So that's what you guys are looking at, people that are ranked near where you're at
for sure.
The moment. And how high of a leap are you willing to take?
Honestly, it's just who is ready for a fight and, what opportunities are coming up. But like I said, the people that I have on my team with 15th round, my trainer, Jake, they all have great boxing mind, business sense as well. So they kind of handle the majority of that. After
July, what's the future plan? You're saying maybe at the close of the year, get another fight in?
Yeah, for sure.
For 2026? For sure, that's the goal. After the July fight, obviously things will become clear for the end of the year. But like I said, just taking it one fight at a time. Right now, my mindset is on, making sure I'm healing up from my last fight, and then, hit the gym, get back in the gym, get ready for July. That's exciting. I can't wait to see you as you prepare for your next fight. Hopefully, I'll get to run into you before July. And see how preparation is going. And I'm not sure if I'll make the Nebraska trip, but maybe, who knows? Who knows? I've been making quite a few trips already for these fights. July happens. How do people find you? How can people start following you? Follow me on Instagram. sol.oko is my handle. My YouTube page, The Warrior in the Garden. Search that up. I'll be there. Facebook is just my name. But, up until this point, like I said, Tucson starting to feel more like home. I appreciate all the support that I'm getting here. I get so much support back home in the Chicago area, Joliet, my supporters out there, my family. So, I appreciate everybody who's tuning in. Like I said, the plan is to take this to the top, and the way that I'm going now, it's only a matter of time. So big things are coming for sure. It took me a little work to nail down the pronunciation of your last name, Okoronkwo. Yep, that's good. So I'm going to put you to the test. Can you say the name of the show, the Toma Todito Boxing Show? Toma Todito Boxing Show. Almost. Close. You got it right on the mic, look. Toma Todito Boxing Show. There you go. Of course. How's your Spanish? I need to work on it. I'll say it's been a little bit better since I've been in Tucson, but I'm working on it. Send a message in Spanish to your Hispanic fans and Mexican fans that are going to start watching.
See, I don't even want to embarrass myself, so all I'm going to say is gracias, gracias.
So the next time I run into you, you'll have.
Oh, most definitely. I got you. I got you.
Spanish-speaking fans. And thank you again. Thank you again. It was an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure was mine,
getting
man.
to meet you here. I'm going to continue following your career if you'll have us back.
Of course.
And what's it going to take, as we close this, what's it going to take for you to start claiming Tucson as your introduction go-to place?
Hey, we just got to keep going at this pace. But, like I said, Joliet is home forever. Nigeria's home. Tucson is definitely goes. I might just need to start having them say all three. Yeah. Might be a long announcement, but we'll take it.
Favorite song to walk out to?
Favorite song, like usually I'll have on some Nigerian music, Ashake, or I've been listening to a lot of G Herbo back home in Chicago.
Nostalgic or motivational?
Like a little.
Fire you up?
Yeah, it has to like fire me up. I got to be in a certain mind frame when I step in there. So a lot of G Herbo is what I'm listening into before I get in the ring. But then usually I'll walk out to some Nigerian music.
Man, that's perfect. Solomon Okoronkwo, thank you so much for having us over
here.
Enjoy the fights later this evening, and we'll follow up with you as you prepare for your upcoming fight in July.
Yes, sir. Pleasure was mine. I appreciate y'all.